I had a ball. It's great. It is very, very interesting, but I was very nervous at the beginning because it's difficult to know how much sense I make, because it's quite a technical thing anyway. And so, you know, not only may there be some complexities with language and stuff, but no, it was great. It's really fun to do. I mean, I was nervous. I was surprised how nervous I was, and I think some of that is just the not knowing really, you know, how much sort of, let's say, how to pitch it. I also find it difficult if there's children, because sometimes I go a bit wild, but it was fun. I'm really chuffed I managed to get another being a shuttlecock picture. That's really important. But no, it's been really nice, really fun. Yeah, it's been a real highlight of my Hong Kong visit, so thank you very much. It's been cool. I always start off with some sort of quote. This is Einstein, and the thing about this is about wonder. It's about the mysterious and the idea that there is wonder in art and wonder in science. Pinhole photography stands at this really difficult space where scientists hate it because it's too arty, and artists hate it because it's too sciencey, or each side loves it. It's a sort of combination of both art and science, which is in a really interesting area. Both have wonder, but for years people have either been doing science or art and not really mixing both together. Things are changing a bit with that. But pinhole photography, you have to have a handle on the science, on what light does and how it feels, which is a weird one, but it was how I was thinking when I was answering some questions this morning, getting the feel of light, whether it be intensity, color, temperature, direction, all these other qualities of light, the scientific qualities, if you like, and then applying that to being creative. And it's a wonderful meld of both disciplines, science and art. And it has wonder, which is the important thing. Pinhole photography is inherently full of wonder. It works because light travels in a straight line, both from the sun and also reflecting off objects, yeah? So we have light rays bouncing off objects, and if you channel that through a small hole, it makes an upside down image. Now, the smaller the hole, the sharper the image, up to a certain point. But the important bit is getting that pinhole close to the film plane. If you get the pinhole close to the film plane, you can get a sharp image. And it's why with DSLR pinhole, you can never get a sharp image, but we'll come to that in a while. So the important thing, in a way, is looking at how this light can be channeled to the way you want it. You may not want a sharp image. There's nothing saying you have to with pinhole photography. There's no rules. Another thing I'd like to say about it is it's difficult. There's nothing difficult about a Hasselblad H5, apart from affording one. Yeah? It's something that is inherently creates an ability for you to use it. There's maybe a green P, a program function. Pinhole photography, you have to learn every aspect of it. It is difficult, and that's one of the reasons that pinhole photographers do it, because you don't really know quite what's going to happen. Goes back, the hole as an image forming device goes back 500 million years when nautiluses were swimming around in the sea. That eye there is a hole. Seawater floods in and out of its eye, and it still does to this day when nautiluses are swimming around the place. So before lenses evolved, there was a hole that was creating a way for creatures to see the world. Now, people have seen the effect probably of a pinhole for the last several thousands of years, but it's only been written down. The first person to write it down was Mo Tzu. Is that the correct way of pronouncing Mo Tzu? I think it is. Mo Tzu, 2400 about 450 BC, who looked at light travelling through a hole and worked out that it moved in the same way as arrows being fired. Which is incredible. To have an idea that light, this thing that's all around us, moves like an arrow being fired. To get one's head around that, I think, is so special. 500 BC. So that was the origins of, let's say, looking at what light does and how it works. Aristotle, who is 2400th birthday is this year, happy birthday Aristotle, he projected the sun through a square hole and still saw the sun was round. Through a round hole it was round, and through a square hole it was also round. So just trying to explore what light was and how it worked. There were no lenses at this time. Lenses took a long time to happen. So the hole was the only device that people had to explore optics, to look at how light worked and get some idea of it all. Alhazen in Arabia, 1000 AD, he realized by using candles that the image was upside down. Because projecting the sun, you couldn't tell if it's upside down or not. But Alhazen realized the image was inverted. From then on, we come to Brunelleschi, who basically using this very complicated device, looking through a hole in the back of a painting, he worked out a way of copying three-dimensional images on a two-dimensional plane, perspective. He's the one responsible for creating perspective in painting and architecture and sculpture. So using a hole and using the mathematics or the geometry of strings going through a hole and working out with those strings replicating the lines of light and creating planes of images from that, they worked out perspective. And him and Masaccio and other people instantly changed the way we see the world. About 1420 in Florence. Leonardo da Vinci went on to start exploring how a hole could create slanted images. Yeah, here's an image of a baby's head and an eye, which if you look at it from here, appears correct. And they became these anamorphic images that were included in paintings. The Ambassadors by Holbein, probably the most famous one, where you've got the skull. This painting was designed to be at the top of a flight of stairs, with the skull, that's the angle of the stairs. And as you walked up the stairs, you could see the skull appearing as you looked at the painting edge on. So it's almost a way of disguising images and playing, if you call it that, with light, how light works, incorporating different perspectives in the same painting. Isaac Newton, a favourite of mine, he projected a shadow of a human hair through a hole of light, the sun going through a hole, and worked out that diffraction occurred. Diffraction is when light touches the edge and bends round. And he also experimented a lot with light and eyes. And one of the things he did, which was really horrid, but I'll tell you about it anyway, he got a candle, and he got a pen, or pencil, and a bit of parchment, and then he started exploring what would happen if he started squidging around with his eye with a stick and squeezing it around to try and change the actual colouring and the flashing, and ended up with headaches the rest of his life. Isaac Newton, marvellous person, but like exploring with light. The other thing he did, when another person got to an idea about gravity, was he destroyed all the pictures of this other person. This other guy died before him, and because this other guy was his main competitor, he destroyed all the images of this person he could buy. And as you can tell, I've forgotten the name of this guy, so it's worked. We only remember Isaac Newton. A few people have been playing with anamorphs. This is Julien Beaver. He does impermanent images with chalk. Yeah? So a chalked image on the ground where from one point it appears as if it's an actual object on the ground. Everywhere else it looks just like a stretched image, but from one particular point it looks like there's loads of breeze blocks. It's also impermanent. It's one of the lovely things with photography is the fact it captures things such as chalk images which aren't always there. Julien Beaver has done loads of stuff around the place. It's worth looking up his work. So the hole was the main way for people to explore the optics. Lenses came on the scene around 1500. And the main thing that they were incorporated with were camera obscuras. Here's a camera obscura here, there's a lens there, and there's usually a mirror here, reflecting the image up to a piece of paper that you can trace the image on, and you'll be covered with a piece of black material. That instantly made it able, it's almost like the program function of 1500, 1600 camera obscuras. It meant that people could start drawing perspective effectively, including, I think we have Donatello, no, Canaletto, I'm sorry. This is a replica of Canaletto's drawing obscura. And there's this thing I did for telly. And that's the original. So Canaletto was using it. Quite a lot of other painters were actually using the camera obscura to be able to create good perspective images and stuff. So we had the lens, and we had a dark chamber. All that was missing was a light-sensitive material to be able to become photography. And there's lots of arguments about who actually invented photography, but there's about 4 or 5 different people at the same time had their own different sort of systems. They were all looking for ways to reproduce objects, whether it be ceramics or engravings. These are 2 people from Bristol, Humphrey Davy from Cornwall, Thomas Wedgwood. They met in Bristol, where we come from, and they invented a way of being able to create images. You couldn't fix them. The images faded within a few days, but they did create negative images. Yeah, that was 1802. From then we have Nicephore and Yates. We had long exposures. That was about 8 hours. 8-hour exposure wasn't any good to anybody, really. From then we had Daguerre, who refined the process, and this is an exposure of about 8 minutes, and you can see there, just there, somebody, the first person ever photographed. Nobody knows who he was, but he was having his shoes shined. 8 minutes, preserved forever. And Daguerre didn't like that. He didn't like the fact that guy had ruined his photo. Yeah? He wanted it completely clear, but that was the famous person, the first person photographed. So we're still down to 8 minutes. That would be no good for a self-portrait. This is a Victorian selfie-ish. Lenses were what people were using. A pinhole gave a sharper image, but lenses meant it was less time. If it was less time, it meant that you didn't have to be clamped for hours like this family here and end up with your baby wriggling around the place. You could actually have shorter and shorter times, because the one thing people wanted pictures of then is exactly the same as it is now. They wanted pictures of themselves. Same here. And that was basically the energy to put into the lens. The lens was the thing that was like developed to create the ability for photography to happen for the next 150 years. And the pinhole was something that basically history sort of like, they just thought it's something that kids could explore and experiment with. You go right through 150 years of technological development with normal photography, whether it be through the Leica and 35mm film and colour and all the rest, right way up to the 60s, where photography had become this 5 foot off the ground, 60th of a second, 3 kittens in a basket. That is a correct photograph. We still take 99% of our photographs at sort of 5 foot off the ground. You know, it's still become the norm. You take a picture a bit higher up or lower down, it becomes different and normal and stuff. Most people who were doing pinhole photography didn't know anybody else was doing it. This is the early start, in a way. The 1960s were when artists and some technical colleges in the States were starting to explore pinhole photography. It wasn't photographers, it was artists. The main thing, in a way, that makes it different from there's loads of things. One thing is the depth of field. Everything is in focus from the pinhole to infinity. Everything. And from the pinhole to the film plane. But from the pinhole to infinity, everything's in focus. And that means you deal with a foreground-background plane. You're not dealing with the view. You're not dealing with a flat view there. You're dealing with a thing that your eye and brain can't really perceive. You've got to imagine, you've got to pre-visualize what something will look like if you could see both foreground and background. So at depth of field. There's loads of other things as well, but one of the things which I'm going to show you now is all these different approaches that people have done with pinhole cameras. People have done original, unique images and unique cameras, and we'll just go through quite a few of them to give you an idea of what tangents we have. I always like the typewriter case, because often the traditional idea of a pinhole is you have a pinhole here, a shoebox, and a piece of paper there. You want the pinhole close to the film plane. Also, typewriters are something of the past now, but they were sort of like amazing objects in their own right. But here's a pinhole camera made of a typewriter, which can do that pinhole close to the film plane thing. Traffic cone. Why not? You can just, it's red, or ones we have anyway are red, and you can sort of like inhibit a lot of the blue light and start taking photos of the traffic cone. A lot of these are people who haven't listened to what anybody else says. They will just do stuff because they can. They have the confidence or the creativity to pursue an idea and not stop pursuing that idea. That is what makes a lot of these people so special. It's people who can be bothered and people who carry on until the final thing. This is a camera made out of a bread roll. So you get a bread roll, you carve out the stuff inside, you paint it black, make a hole, put some photographic paper in, and start taking pictures of a bread roll. This is from Jay in California. Here's a tin, a biscuit tin, with an Ansel Adams picture. Yep, so a very famous Ansel Adams picture of Yosemite. And what he's done is he's found the tin in a shop, and he's thought, okay, right, we'll make a pinhole in the picture. load up with photographic paper, then we'll take the camera to the same place that that picture was taken, and then take a picture of the view through the picture itself. It takes effort. It takes a lot of being bothered. There could be tons of reasons not to. He could have just thought, I could do that, and then done something else. And that's almost like a dead idea. This is an idea that has actually become something. And it's why we should all be bothered and try and do stuff. Mad ideas are only mad ideas if somebody else tells you they are. And don't listen to them. Ralph Howell. This is getting objects. A lot of this is to do with camera building. Yeah, we're so used to buying that we're not sort of, let's say, camera builders or makers. And often people say, what do you photograph? I don't really have subjects in mind until after I've designed or thought of a camera. This is a respirator by Ralph Howell, and he's made it into a camera with a pinhole here, and then put it in front of a mirror on the beach, and it's photographed itself. So it's giving objects a vision, which is another idea. And there's a lot of his images. They're beautiful images, and they're sort of like giving these objects their own vision of things. This is Rachel Weisz with a watermelon camera. More edible cameras, please. I like the idea of edible cameras. It's something that's a really odd area, which is sort of like makes people a bit unnerved. Most traditional photographers just let's say, you know, in the magazine world, will just sort of think, oh no, that's daft. It's not if it exists. If it exists, they've got to cope with it. There's Rachel Weisz staring into a watermelon camera. This is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Bit of driftwood, piece of driftwood, carved out, a pinhole in the front. Gorgeous thing. This is Greg. Greg died February the 2nd this year. Greg was a person who promoted pinhole photography through a Pinhole Visions website for a long time. I met him a couple of years ago. He knew he had cancer for a long time, and he put his cameras up not knowing if he'd see the results because they were long exposures. And this is one of his cameras that's made to look like a rock. And he put them by the side of the road and leave them for several months. And there's another of his cameras there, which he leaves on disused building sites. One of his cameras, the long exposure ones, he put in a tree, and he emailed me the picture. It's quite funny, because he put it in a tree for a long exposure, and about a month later, some bird built a nest on it. So you have all these sticks. So, oh, it's great. You don't know what's going to happen. If you know what's going to happen, that's a bit, yawn. I don't like knowing what's going to happen. Diana Bose, making a camera out of a book. What book do you choose? What page do you start on? What do you photograph? If it's a book on Rome, is it a good excuse to go and visit Rome? These can be decisions which you can take on board and start enjoying the whole creative process of making decisions yourself, your decisions. Very fun. Regina Valkenburg, gorgeous that we always love doing bigger and bigger pictures. This is a tiny self-portrait. And there's her face. It's a negative of her face. And it's so small it fits into the eye of a needle. So we're starting to get into images that when you exhibit them, you've got to look at a magnifying glass to see anything at all. Really fun. Just a real sort of like, you know, that's great. I quite like the idea of having a film projected really small, so you've got to be really close to whoever it is. More building. This is a little camera here, which makes these pictures, negative, and a little dark room to go with it. And another one, all very sweet. There's a couple of mine. I did this book a while back, which was on, there's one camera called the Unliker camera. I quite like the word, Unliker camera. It was okay. It was quite fun. Here's one made out of a matchbox. So we just sort of like can make them out of anything, and the actual quality of the images can be quite good. But you've got to learn. You've got to learn what the camera does do, what it doesn't, what the exposure is, all of these things that normal cameras tell us. Getting bigger and bigger can be really good fun. But you do end up with a limited wallet, I suppose, a limited amount of money for the photographic material. And that's where this other area that I've been involved with recently comes in, which is camera obscuras. We were talking about them earlier as in a lens-based box which projects the image in front of you. If you were to black out this room now and make a small hole the size of a hole punch, the world outside would be projected on all the walls and the ceiling. But you wouldn't be able to see it. It'd be too dark. You'd need a camera with a long exposure to be able to capture that image. But you can do it. It's why a lot of the camera obscura images that you see are of somebody lying in bed, because they're there for sort of like an hour or so. So we use lenses and start experimenting with lenses. Oh, no, we don't. Here we are. Here's Louis and Rosa, who are at the back. They'll sign things afterwards. This is using a cream cracker to view a partial eclipse that happened a few months ago in the UK. So you have the sun, the moon moving in front of the sun, a crescent sun, and then the little crescent suns being projected through the multiple holes of a cream cracker, which is great fun. I think I gave out about 200 cream crackers to the school. And I went to collect all the cream crackers. They're gone. Don't know why. So, you know, projecting the whole, just the same thing that Aristotle and Mo Tzu did, but with a cream cracker. Camera obscuras, they were sort of like devices, like television for Victorian times in a way, but using lenses and stuff. There's quite a few around the place. They're great fun. This is one I went and built at the kids' school. Very simple to do. I've got a website with, if you look up camera obscuras on my website, there's a whole load of simple ways of making very effective camera obscuras, whether it be for kids or for schools or things like that. This is one done for the Glenfroom Primary School, and yeah, projects an image on the inside of a little hut. This isn't one of mine. This is rather fun. This is Mexico City. But again, camera obscuras, people go in and they're amazed at seeing the world upside down. We are so used to these digital projectors. We're so used to TV screens. We're so used to seeing incredible technology that when you see reality, when you actually black out a room and you have a lens and a sheet and you project the image of the outside world, kids come in and they say, "Where's that?" You think, "It's the world over there." And they're amazed. You know, they go out and it's like, being able to see it, it forces into your head the fact that reality is out there. Just turn it upside down and all of a sudden they're sort of like, whoa, maybe it's because we do see the world upside down in our eyes and our brains. Maybe because we do see it. Suddenly when it happens, there's something sort of like really hitting home. Anyway, that's in Mexico City. Maria Perilla, she's Finnish and she does the most amazing camera obscuras. There's a link on my website. This is one made out of snow. So making compacted snow camera obscuras. This is one made out of a television, so you can smash the back of a television and project the outside world in a room. You could actually put it down, so you black out the room, have a TV there, and on the TV with an upside down colour image of the world outside. And as people come in, you can give them a remote control, and they can sit there. Here's a couple of projects I've helped with. Again, upside down stuff. And this is the, if any rich benefactor out there wants to help me market these things, this is the iScura. This is a bin, basically, but you hold it in front of you, put it on your head, and you see the world upside down. And you wander around the place, crashing into each other, and they're great fun. They really are. I think I've got some video somewhere. Here we go. Bit quiet, but don't worry. There we go. The iScura in action. Enter Rosa. Go. Hup. Yes. She's back there. They're brilliant fun. They're really good. And like, it's something to do with seeing the world upside down and the eye and optics. And they don't cost much to make. But every school should have one. We'll see. Here's a couple. That's a triclops. Now this is quite quiet, the next one. I'm going to probably bypass it. But this here is 3 screens. So you actually see 3 ways at the same time, all upside down. And you walk around the place with it on your head, and you just feel really sick, and you feel really ill, and you fall over. But it's fun. I would love to have one where it's like, you know, about 8 of them and one on the top, and just so you can play so much. You can, you know, designing this optical wonder, so everything's spinning the wrong way round and stuff. It's fantastic. And gets you into festivals, so that's good. And there's Rosa telling you all about it. But it's too quiet. Sorry. Okay, Abelardo Morell. Abelardo Morell is amazing. He's fantastic, but he's got the most difficult to remember name in photography. Abelardo Morell. There's a few people who have who have found new ways to see the world, yeah? He's one of them. Now, this is blacking out hotel rooms with a small hole, projecting the world on the walls and stuff. So it's using a hole, this is. And then he does a long exposure. It's a Times Square, Tower Bridge. There's the pillows of the bed there. Fantastic stuff. But more recently, what he's done is he's got a blackout tent. Do you remember OHPs, overhead projectors? If you ever find an overhead projector, save the block at the top, the lens and the thing. That's the bit you need. You have a tent that's black. You have a camera. And what you're doing is you're viewing a tree in front of you, or I could, if I had one here, I'd be viewing all of you, yeah? So all of you would be seen through this lens, and you would be projected at my feet, because I'll be in the black. So there'd be all of you lot projected onto the carpet with my feet. So it's projecting the view from the position that you're seeing it. That's really clever. And this is Half Dome in Yosemite, projected onto the grass in front of Half Dome, forwards and downwards at the same time. And that one there, I love that, just because it's so sort of jigsaw-y sort of thing. This is just a lake, just on the pebbles of a lake, projecting the view at your feet. You can do tons of this all over the place. It's amazing. And it's a new way of seeing, rather like Tim McMillan. Tim McMillan invented time slice. He had loads of pinhole cameras, and he put his hand inside this circle of pinhole cameras, flash gun went off, and he projected them in a projector. And what you could see is your hand rotating in space. Then he built a big load, and he threw his dog through, and a flash gun went off, and you have this dog rotating in space. And then he did a picture of himself with no clothes on, jumping through, and he's a big man. I won't show it. And he was and he started doing this time slice, got 1,000th of a second, and created moving objects within that 1,000th of a second. Then the Matrix got hold of it, and the rest is history. But that time slice, a way to change the way we can see bits of the world in fractions of a second, slicing time. Okay, back to pinhole. Making use of found spaces. This is a hole in the Berlin Wall, okay? So somebody was knocking down the Berlin Wall, and Dominic Strubank came along, blacked out the hole, did one picture looking east and one picture looking west. So it's not subject. It doesn't matter what you're photographing. It's finding a space. It's more like performance art or sculpture, or rather like Rachel Whiteread's house, where you plaster cast the inside of a house and then knock the outside down. So you've only left with the solidity in a way. This is finding spaces to create holes around, especially ones such as the Berlin Wall being knocked down. Eric Renner was the person who coordinated as much as you can pinhole photography before the internet. This is a plaster cast of his face, and he's got holes where his eyes are, and he holds the mask up to himself, looking, doing a portrait of himself through his own eyes. It's not easy, which is why we do it. Ceramic pinhole cameras, and just the whole creativity within making pinhole cameras. This is a gorgeous thing. I think a Korean guy did it a couple of years ago. There may be people here who know the ins and outs of it, but I think it does really long exposures, and it's a gorgeous sort of like anti-fractions of a second camera, starting to do 1 second, 2 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, just sort of like almost it's a camera about anti-photography in a way. Wayne Belger does the most, well, he was born a twin, yeah, and his twin brother died at birth. So he's living his brother's life as well as his own. And that affects a lot of his camera designs and a lot of his photography. boyofblue.com, have a look at them. They are really quite harsh, but quite amazing objects, okay? They're just worth looking at, but they do go into odd sort of like directions. This is getting an egg, and you blow out the gunge inside an egg, and then you inject liquid light, which is like liquid emulsion, and then project on the inside of an egg. Develop a stop bar fixer, and you end up with a picture on the inside of an egg. This is about bothering. This is a picture of a camel through the eye of a needle, which goes back to can you drive a camel through the eye of a needle thing. Yay! Come on, tell us, please. Martin. There he is. We are not worthy. Hello. Being bothered. I remember first seeing this and I just thought, go for it. I just thought, whoa, one day I'll meet this guy. I haven't quite yet, but you're over there. There's some things that you just know, aren't easy and have to be done. And have to be done irrespective of loads of people saying you shouldn't, and society saying you shouldn't, and the commercial world saying you shouldn't, etc., etc., etc. But doing it. And edible cameras are really the way forward. I often get hungry when I'm doing photography, and this would solve that problem. Okay, right, more edible cameras. This is photographing through the holes in a cream cracker. All very good fun. And this is going a bit, this is really not pinhole. This is using lenses made out of ice. So you make a lens in your freezer, and then quickly fix it onto a box, and then go out taking pictures before your lens melts. It's not pinhole, but it's definitely not very good for weddings, but it's challenging, okay? And this again is just one of those things that I love the extremes of. This is Chris McCaw. He has a big camera and he points it towards sunrise. And as the sun comes up, it starts melting its way into the emulsion, and it stops. And here, this white line here is where the emulsion is actually melted. It's melted a hole. And by the end of the exposure, his whole camera is usually full of smoke. And sometimes it bursts into flames. Not very good for weddings. Really fun, just really pushing things to extremes, which is great. Get a box. So you got a box, any box, doesn't matter. Photographic paper in the bottom, make a little hole, and then you post it to someone. And then they post it back, and then you post it to someone else. I sometimes try and get classes to do this, where you post it from one person to the next, and just see what happens. And you end up with a picture of whatever that is. It's a something. It's basically like where it's been put down in the sorting office and there's some fluorescent tubes. The randomness, the encouraging or the welcoming of knowing that you are completely out of control. It's rather like, I relate to it as riding a unicycle. You have to feel as if you're falling. Once you know you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get somewhere with pinhole photography. Once you're a bit out of control, and you don't know what's going to happen, you end up sort of getting into areas you never expected. Right, few more. This is Bethany de Forest. She's Dutch. She's fantastic. Pinhole.nl. Amazing photos. Eats too many sweets, but like fantastic photos. Gorgeous. She has loads of new stuff all the time. There's a forest made out of asparagus. She has a glass box made out of mirrors that reflect the image back and forwards. And the camera's got mirrors on the outside, so you can't see it reflected. So it's like this massive sort of like hallway made out of asparagus or whatever she can find. This is what you should all be doing, making yourself a pinhole suit, yeah? There you go. So you can make yourself a pinhole suit, go out and photograph people around Hong Kong with your pinhole suit. Great. I'm not sure who this person is, but they're a bit of a hero. And then we come to movement. We are so wrapped up with the 60th of a second, or let's say we can't do less than a 60th or more than a 60th of a second because we will get camera shake. All that, yeah? Whoa, suddenly there's a whole realm of existence that is not allowed because Canon and Nikon say it isn't. This is movement and time. Valerie Burke, going out with a pinhole camera and dancing around to whatever the music is at the time. Dancing with light. Catherine Faulkner, running down hills. Meow. Just getting beyond the fraction of a second. If there was a fly here, and I got this, yeah, and I thought, right, bye-bye fly. No, I better not. The fly would see this very expensive microphone coming down at slow motion, because a fly sees about 200 frames a second. And when it got to about there, it go bzz, and the microphone was smashed to bits. But we see 25ths of a second, but this is to do with time, seeing beyond vision, yeah? This is one of mine. This is going through the Palace of Mirrors in Versailles. Loads of people taking photographs, and you couldn't take any pictures because there's billions of people. And I just walked through. It took about 15 minutes, just walking through like that. Everyone's staring at me. Actually, no one does. The weirder you are, the more people just look the other way. Very handy. So this is the 15 minutes of Versailles. Then we have a day. It's a day's exposure using the Earth as a pinhole camera. More day exposures. This is like a sunflower, the sun through a sunflower. Calvin Lopez, Diego Calvin Lopez, I get his name mixed up. Brilliant pinhole, a solarographer. And that's the Temple of the Sun. All done with pinhole. 3 months, and then 6 months. And we'll come to the 6-month camera. They're the cameras I've got to give out, yeah? Things that go beyond what we know as photography time, really. April the 24th, and there'll be something said about this afterwards, is World Pinhole Day. It's the 16th year. Greg was massively involved with Pinhole Day. This year it's sort of a commemorate him. Do be involved with it. It's great fun. It's just an excuse to sort of get together and take mad pictures with mad cameras and stuff and just have a bit of fun. And then upload the picture onto the website. It's something to promote pinhole photography and promote the joy and wonder of simple photography, really. And it all starts off with like New Zealand and then right around the world. Get about 5,000 people taking part every year, and it's just an excuse to enjoy pinhole photography. Okay, digital. It's a very difficult thing to sort of discuss and talk about. Digital pinhole, it almost contradicts itself. Yes, it can be done, but not very well. But then you might not want it to be sharp. You might not want it to X, Y, Z, A, B, C. Chips do not like light hitting it at an angle. They want light hitting it straight. You can't recess the pinhole close to the chip because there's loads of lens barrel. But there's loads of ways that haven't been explored. When somebody says, oh, you can't do that, what they mean is they have failed. Yeah? That's all they're saying. So when I say you can't really do digital, just accept the fact that I'm no good at it. Yeah? Down to you. This is the sort of picture you'll get. It's a bit blurry. It's not that maybe exciting, but maybe it is if you want that. However, one thing I did see a while back is this, which is Photoshop to the hilt, but it's gorgeous. It's more like painting with light. It's not photography, it's just painting with light, and that's valid, yeah? You can also get these in recessed pinholes for 3/4 cameras. They work, and that also opens up pinhole video. We haven't got time to go there, but you can, yeah? That's done with the recessed pinhole. So it can be done, but like it's not being done, let's say, brilliantly well yet. I think because the whole nature of a pinhole camera is almost like it's fact you build it and its indestructibility and all the rest. I started doing pinhole because I was teaching photography at a college. The kids there couldn't really afford cameras, so we all had Coke cans, which we made cameras out of, and I started from then on. I then got approached about a year later by a magazine that wanted to have a little pinhole camera on the cover. And I started doing colour pinhole. And this was when you used to take your photos and take your films to the chemist. You wouldn't know for a week whether the cameras worked. Really odd, taking your photos to the chemist and waiting a week. It's just so different to what things are like. But it was interesting. Gave you a week to think, oh, it's going to be brilliant. And you get your pictures back and it's, oh, not always. And you end up with things like this, which is the Royal Crescent in Bath, which is near Bristol. And it's just got my hand in front. But it's things you suddenly think, people were saying, oh, you can't really do colour pinhole. Can't do anything. Of course you can. And these are all done with 35mm adapted cameras, okay? There's a whole selection. They're all a bit weird. They go all off on tangents and stuff. But I got really into pinhole photography from that time on, and that's really what I've done from then on. There's about a 5-minute exposure in the bath. And this is the World Trade Center. There's a friend of mine had a flat at Battery Park, and we used to go there. Went there a couple of times. Just experimented with cameras. It was an amazing space. I still love it. I love the photo, and I was putting up this exhibition at Soho Photo, and the guy who helped me put the pictures up was one of the firemen who was in the building when it was coming down. And ever since then, I've always shown it. Photographically, there's loads of things to do with it, but you chuck in, let's say, the history and how things change and how photography is so important, and it sort of just becomes a lot more than a straightforward image. The horizon line, that weird sort of Egyptian shape, bubble gum, the whole works. Very odd. This is why the Venetian tourist board don't employ me. This is Venice. This is the foothills of Yosemite. This was just a bad joke I wanted to take. It was difficult because I was nowhere that was sunlit. This is sunny, that isn't, and you have to get the sort of contrast right. It didn't really work, but it doesn't matter. These are those balloons that are slowly diminishing the world of helium. Yeah, helium, we're running out. 20 years' time, there'll be no helium. But these balloons have got some, and this is what happens over 10 seconds with these balloons moving about. With a DSLR, if you had loads of neutral density filters, you could do long exposures in sunlight. But eventually the batteries wear out and stuff, and nobody does. Sticking cameras onto tortoises, getting a chase a piece of lettuce and stuff. Escalators, hey, that'd be good. Doing the escalator in Hong Kong right the way from the bottom, that'd be great. Sticking cameras onto bicycles, and this is where you get this sort of like great quality that suddenly appears, where I will need an assistant. Here we go. I haven't done this for a few years. I'll pick somebody at random. Right, here we go. I built this camera originally because it's indestructible. So you can start playing around with things. It's sticking it onto a boomerang. And can I have a volunteer? Sir, could you, you look as if you're a keen sportsman. If you could just stand over there. Whoa. Right, this is the reenactment of this picture. So what we do, any good at badminton? I'm not. Okay, ready? Right, I'll peel the sticker off and the exposure's starting. Okay, come on. Whoa! Oh, come on, quick. Ugh. Okay, that'll do. It's getting too scary. Oh, thank you, well done. Thank you very much indeed, thank you. Right, so what we have is a picture on here which is entitled Being a Shuttlecock. And it's what something looks like when it's being hit from one side of a sports hall to another. And this is a picture called Being a Shuttlecock. Now you can use a camera like that to take a picture, or like a Nikon here. You can use one of those. In fact, if you want to, you can take a picture like this with a Nikon once. Good. Being a shuttlecock, one of my favourite photos, and nobody likes it. Playing with flash guns, electronic flash, fantastic fun. Again, getting really close up. This is breakfast. You had that big duck, didn't you, in Hong Kong? Yeah, we had that little one. This is a plastic duck being throttled by my toes. I went from being a sort of travel photographer, going as far as possible to photograph places and Turkey and things, and I got a bit against it and then started photographing things as close as possible. Everything became within arm's length. It's sort of like the idea that you go further and further to take better and better photos. I started looking just around the room I was in and getting really close up. That's having access to stuffed animals for some project I did. And this is one of those squirters that squirt water at a windscreen. Next time you're lying on the bonnet of a car, yeah, have a look. That's what it looks like. One of those cabs you get in Hong Kong, just have a little look. They won't mind. A rabbit. So it's just sort of, in a way, it's play. And I was trying to talk and analyze aspects of this sort of like randomness and not worrying, just doing. Rather like the UK, rather like Hong Kong, the UK, we have very small houses. This is me coming down the stairs, Christmas time. Being grated. This is what it looks like if you were a piece of cheese having been grated. There you go. This is my big toe, made all festive. We won't go there, it's horrible, it's horrible. I won't do that. There were sensitive people present. This is just, again, it's just sort of like thinking, okay, some corn, they look a bit like teeth, let's put some toothpaste on it, let's take some pictures. Let's not think, I shouldn't do that because. Let's just do it. Do stuff, carry on. There's no reason to stop. I tell my students that you can either, there's two things you can do. Basically, I tell my students, I start off, I say, you're going to die. Always a good way to start a lesson, I think, because it's probably true. And before that time, there are two things. They can either be bothered and do stuff, or not be bothered and not do stuff. The end result is they're going to die. But like, you may as well do stuff. Being bothered. Ah, we have a bit more sound. Are you ready? Oh, that's a camel. Forget the sound of a camel. The next one has got sound. Hang on. Here we go. It's the last note of A Day in the Life by the Beatles, yeah? Right now, what's happening is the piano is on wheels. No, actually, I think the piano is on wheels, and it's slowly being moved towards the microphones. And it's 43 seconds. And this is a picture of A Day in the Life of Sgt. Pepper LP, and it's the last note as the camera is on the record, spinning round for 43 seconds whilst that last note's being played. So it's a picture of the note being played. So it's a photograph of that last 43 seconds. Kind of weird. As me? Don't I look lovely? No. Okay, it's going into other realms. A slot, 2 razor blades, and this is a tomato on a blue background. It's rather like the image gets stretched, like skewing it with Photoshop. The image gets stretched out. Very odd. It is Rinko Kikuchi with a beer can camera. Now, this is where I'm going to explore. Right, I'm just going to show you how to make the joys of a beer can camera. We start off with going downstairs where there are some people drinking this. Yes. Aluminium is an amazing material, absolutely incredible. Sorry if I'm flicking on the floor, I don't mean to. If you're cutting, you always cut at the bottom, and then you can have it as a sort of very nice, fairly clean edge. I'll ignore the fact that's lethal. Opening beer cans isn't easy. It takes a knack here, but that is the right height for 5x7 photographic paper. You can use Coke cans, but they don't have the height to get a maximum image. I'm going to do this on the wall to show you, because basically you use a can opener like that, and you keep a bit of pressure. Ideally, you want to have it on a sort of V shape. It's not bad. Bang. Oh, that's a good one. Well done, Hong Kong. That there is completely clean. Lying. Got you there, didn't I? Sorry, childish, but I enjoy it. That's completely clean. I'm impressed myself, actually. That is like, there's nothing, no edge at all. That could be a resource for, you know, how to make an instant pen tidy at school, I don't know. But they're amazing things, and you can start using that as a pinhole camera. And I'll just show you how, very quickly, how quickly it can be to make a pinhole camera that does a 6-month duration exposure image, which is what I'll be hurling out to people, or however it's going to be done. You get yourself a pin, there it is. This is the mathematics of making a pinhole. You ready? There you go. I hope you got that. That's a pin. You make yourself a very expensive titanium shutter. Here it is. Sorry, Lou, I didn't go the thing. Oh, we'll do it now, actually. Where's the hole? I've lost him. There he is. Stick the sticker over the hole. That's it. Then you get some photographic paper. This is fogged photographic paper. I'm not even going to begin to explain it because it's really weird, this whole approach, and it takes several days to get the hang of it. There it is. Oh dear, it's fogged. Oh no. Ah. Oh no. Don't matter. You wrap that up, put it in there. Feel how scratchy it is. Yep, that's not going to be shot. Then you get this. Crush the can a bit, and then push that on there. That sucks on there. I know, it's clever. It took me years to get the hang of that. If Aristotle or Mo Tzu had invented gaffer tape, where would we be? Fantastic. Anybody else seen The Martian? Oh. So we gaffer tape the top on. There we go. Then what we do is there's a video on how to put the camera up and how to retrieve the image, and it's on that website. Then we get ourselves our rubber band, which I have got here. We put that there, and then we get ourselves 2 cable ties, the reason I do cable ties is it forces people to put them up. And that's your camera. And what you would do is you would find a drain pipe or something where you live. If you do it outside, there's a chance it might just sort of like get taken. Point it towards the sun, so point it sort of southish or east or west. And then cable tie it around the top, so it's nice and steady. Don't do it there, it'll get crushed. Pull the sticker off, leave it for 6 months, put the sticker back on, and then you don't develop it, you just scan the picture. Okay? Right. Okay, now I'm going to give this camera to somebody who can answer a really difficult question, okay? Who wants this camera? Yay, there you go. Okay, that is how to make, that's really quick. It's about, you know, $2, $3, 3 Hong Kong dollars. And that's how to make camera. But also you can use them with chemistry. Okay, fantastic. Right, this is turning round with a pinhole camera. And here's more. So you get very wide angle image with a beer can camera. Amazing sort of strange images you can do. This is projects with schools. But one thing I'd also, oh, we'll come to that. This is the lattice window of Fox Talbot. Beer can cameras. These are all developed. So about 5 or 6 second exposures, and then you develop it. That one that I've made is for long exposures with solar graphs. This is getting a camera, filling it full of water, holding it underwater. So you're imaging through water rather than air. And then we get onto the bin. Yay! This is the bin. It's my bin. Well, it's next door's bin. We use ours. Make it into a pinhole camera, put a big piece of photographic paper in. Or get an even bigger bin. Illegally park a van and then replace it with big sheets of paper. Now, what I'd like you to do is, anybody got an iPhone? Very quickly, because we're going to run out of time, I want you to go to Settings. I'm going to give you about 20 seconds to do this, because otherwise it's going to take too long. Go to Settings, scroll down to General, then Accessibility, switch on Invert Colors. Hope we've got enough time for this. Then open up the camera icon, and then have a look at the following pictures on the projector. Has anybody got there? Right, there's no excuses. Right, so invert colors, look at the camera, and these are the negatives, which you should be able to see in positive. Can you see that? Is it working? Yeah. There we go, you see. So this is how this digital invert sort of thing, invert colors. So we're going to go through a few of these. These are big paper negatives, yeah? That's the Clifton Suspension Bridge. What else we got? That's in Bath. That's me there. That's me on the... you got a green laser, haven't I? That's cool. That's some nuts on the bridge. I'd like to see these on my iPhone. I haven't got one. The Royal Crescent in Bath, and there's me. My toes. You like my toes? Nelson's Column. And that one there, you've got in negative and positive. Okay, put your phones away. It's rude having your phones out in a lecture, honestly. Okay, so it's just, but like being able to view negative images with, let's say, a digital phone and stuff is just really fantastic old tech, new tech stuff. It's why I like really big paper negatives and stuff. Here's an exhibition of my negatives taken in negative that ends up as they all appear as positives. This is the orphalogram. Orphalogram because it makes you look awful. It's basically using a beer can camera, but instead of it having at that distance, you have it about 2 centimeters away from your nose, and you use 2 flash guns to go bang like that. And this is actually how you look. And I did this exhibition, which again, I'll probably have to miss the video, I think. It's also pasting. It only costs a couple of pounds to do massive A0 prints. And then you can paste them around, have your own exhibition wherever you want. In Bristol, we paste everything. It's a Banksy sort of place. So we just put things all over the place. It's all good fun. Louis, we're going to have to miss you. I'm sorry. And you get graffiti on it, but that's fine. Just paste another one on. So it's a real sort of like open exhibition where you just put tons up. If you don't, you change them around the whole time. Quite liberating. Then we get to Mouthpiece. where basically I realised this thing fitted inside my mouth. I do have a big mouth. Oh. Take it out before everyone starts taking photos. And then you realise that you can take photos from inside your mouth. You don't have to, but you can, so you should. It's called waking. Brushing my teeth with a dead spider. It's not very nice, but there you go. Bath time. The Guggenheim in New York. Lincoln Memorial. Venice. Sydney Opera House. Yay! Having a bad day, but Rosa at the back, she'll sign photos later. Louis at the back, you can sign the photos now. My dentist attacked me with a pair of pliers. And so it goes. And that's biting my nails. I used to grow my nail really long, and everyone used to go, "Ugh!" It's quite fun. It'd get about that long. Yeah, I love them. I love Mouthpiece. It's really funny, and it's sort of like, yeah, they're great. And that's eating carrots. Taking my temperature. And it goes on. The book was really good fun. This was discovered originally by Paolo Ghioli about 30 years ago. How to do really long exposures. You basically do the cameras I did just now, leave it for, could be a day, or it could be 3 months or 6 months, and the paper gets a suntan. You then scan the picture. You don't use chemicals. You scan the picture on a scanner, inverse, 3-month picture. It's mixing really old technology with new technology. It's fantastic. It costs a few dollars to do, and it just gets you in touch with really long exposure times and stuff. That's how it comes out of the final picture. It doesn't go black, 'cause there's no developer on it. Then you invert it, and it looks colour because it's blue. Several I've got here. I'm going to go through them, but they're online. This is the 6 months, the SS Great Britain. And there's a small ones you can do. That's 3 months and the death of. So it's put onto a gravestone. There's the camera there, Clifton Suspension Bridge one. So you can see where it's sunny, cloudy, sunny, cloudy. This was for Stonehenge, a BBC thing. It took ages, and Stonehenge isn't that close where I live. But the load of druids smashed the cameras to bits. Only one came out, which is a shame. It didn't work very well. But that's the sort of thing. And this is Newcastle, the Angel of the North. You have to put them quite high up. Yeah? You have to put them higher than a drunk person can reach when on another drunk person's shoulders. If you get them higher than that, they'll survive. Any lower, they'll go. But they're amazing. It's like a sundial in a way. And this is the Banksy in Bristol, or the main one. And that's me putting a camera up, pointing at it. It gets smashed to bits, but it still works. And this happens after a year. The emulsion starts dropping off. And then you find things happening. And this is where the sun is reflecting off cars in a car park. And then you stick them onto objects. I'm trying to put them on sailing ships at the moment, which are going to be going around Europe and stuff. This is putting one onto a motorhome and driving around for 6 months. This one's on a boat which my cousin's husband was in charge of, but he now isn't, so I'm not sure. It goes around the Caribbean. And this is a couple which were put up for a year, actually 6 months in the garden, just imaging each other, looking at each other. Just experimenting, really. And that's the sort of thing that comes out. So, you know, this is I could go on for far too long with the 6 month stuff. They're great fun to play with, to not know whether the cameras are going to survive. I've still got 4, or I think it's 5 in Paris that have been there for 4 years, and I haven't been back to Paris since. So, like, if anybody's going to Paris, I can let you know where they are. You know, it's sort of harvest them every 6 months. You do a harvest. It's quite odd. This is the sun going through a tree. and then the leaves come out and it blocks the sun. And you can do 77 billion of them for whilst the time it takes to do one of those, if you wanted to. This has got a rude word, but it's a film I was involved with. I'm not going to mention it because it's got a rude word. But it's, the most important bit really is it's not reproduction. In fact, we'll have this thing. You can look at the most menial everyday thing. Depending upon how your pinhole camera meets the light, it's warped, peculiar, and imperfect. It's not reproduction, it's storytelling. Photography started off as reproduction. Nicephore and the apes wanted to copy engravings. Wedgwood wanted to copy or print onto ceramics. Pinhole photography isn't that. It is a story from when you have an idea and you carry that idea out and go through half a ton of accidents. And it's 2400th anniversary of Aristotle's birthday. Happy birthday, Aristotle.
我想問咧，佢即係用過好多唔同嘅物件咧，做唔同嘅偏好啦。呢一種物件佢係最即係覺得有趣嘅，即係用咩物件做覺得最有趣
？Yeah. This lady want to ask a question about that. Which kind of material is the most interesting one you've ever used for the pinhole camera?
For making a camera, it's the next one I do. Yeah, definitely. Here, have a camera. Have a camera.
When we talk about pinhole photography, we usually mention a single pinhole. So what the exposure is for multiple pinholes?
The thing with multiple pinholes is if you do a multiple pinhole image of a, let's say, a view outside, it fogs the paper very quickly. But if you do a flash picture, or let's say a candle, the way of experimenting with it is, let's say you have a candle and you do pinholes the shape of a Christmas tree, yeah? Then you get lots of candles in the shape of a Christmas tree. What always happens is you get candles in the shape of a Christmas tree pointing downwards. Because you need to put the camera the other way up, because the image is inverted. So a flash picture will isolate the foreground and make a black background. Then you can use multiple pinholes. Multiple slots, that would be weird. I've never done that. People have, though, done slots in front of slots at different angles. It's completely weird. It stretches the image in 4 ways. Just getting your head about how light is working is just very strange with that. I want a pinhole camera. I wouldn't dare throw it.
Okay, wait a minute.
Death by pinhole camera. Go for it. Yes, sir. Go, go, go.
我想問一問咧，頭先你嗰個牙齒嗰度咧，即係擺個camera 喺入邊咧，擺幾耐先能夠拍落一張好嘅照片
？What's the exposure time for your mouthpiece camera to put in your mouth?
6 months. No, it's not. No, no, no. No, no.
You will die.
Yeah. It's a flash. Often it's a flash. So I go bang.
Okay.
But with the Lincoln Memorial, yeah, I had the camera in my mouth, the Lincoln Memorial was there, and I was like this for about 4 minutes.
4 minutes?
And I kept my eyes closed thinking I was going to get hit. And it was just, I was counting thinking any minute now. But people just think you're mad and they avoid you.
我想問下佢會唔會試下吞咗嗰個camera， 即係然後影一張相或者一兩張相，咁一嘔出嚟咁。Okay.
Come on, bring it on.
This guy just want to ask you that have you ever tried to swallow a camera and then just take it out and try to see what it is, how it has been taken? Yeah.
It has been done. Not by me, but it has been done, and whatever extremes you can think of has been done. I'll leave it there.
How was the picture?
Yeah, I went to uni and there was a guy there, Darren Glance, a New Zealander, doing the
absolute hero. I just edited Darren Glass, Jenny Tomlin, Di Stoppard. I've just been to New Zealand, yeah? Just spent 3-4 weeks going around New Zealand doing talks. What uni were you at?
I was at MIT and Otago.
Okay, yeah.
Kind of was part of Auckland Uni at the time.
Right, yeah, AUT, yeah. Well, AUT.
MIT, yeah,
okay.
I was at Manukau.
Right. I mean, he's fantastic. He's superb, amazing, and his sort of like large versions of stuff and his spirals. And the thing with pinhole photography is people don't need others to do it. You can do it isolated. Not saying New Zealand's isolated, but let's say you don't have to have, you know, everybody else doing it around you. And that's why people like Jenny and stuff has just done, you know, gorgeous photography.
Have you ever done stuff on like flying objects?
Yeah, I mean, there's being a shuttlecock. I've stuck them on boomerangs. The reason that little mouth camera, I mean, it's a bit miserable, basically. I worked at Clifton Suspension Bridge. I worked in the wood. We found somebody who jumped off, yeah, and I didn't. My team did, and it did me head in. And I started photographing drops. I just started dropping cameras, and I thought, I don't know why. I never show them, but like it was just odd, and that's where the indestructibility came in with it all. So dropping and stuff, and sticking them on the outside of tube trains, things you couldn't get away with nowadays.
Have you ever tried using drone?
Yes, yeah, we've done the first drone picture at Falmouth University about 2 years ago. We had one of these, yeah, we had a piece of cotton held onto there. Brilliant drone, fantastic. And it went up, and like we pulled it, and we all sat there, and then we had to get it down quickly and put the sticker on. We did it at a sort of sunsetty time, so it was about 20 seconds, so we knew that we could get it, and we did the first drone pic. It wasn't very good, but you know, we did it. So yes, I've done a bit of drone photography.
And I wanted to, it's like you got a slide in your PowerPoint, and you mentioned about the picture you're making with fridge. Yeah, I do want to know how do you make it? I'm not very sure. How do you make this?
Which
the image with the fish?
Oh, the fish.
Fish. Refrigerator.
Which image was that?
Refrigerator.
Ah, yes, camera obscura made of snow. Yeah. Yeah, that's not mine, but it's from Finland. Yeah. Okay. Not easy to do in Hong Kong. Yeah. Big puddle. She's brilliant. Her name is Maria Perilla. She does the most amazing camera obscuras. Her link's on my website, and like, but she is incredible. She has the most you know, she has buckets which rotate, and you can see the image going the opposite way, and they're just brilliant. And there was a whole collection, a whole load of camera obscura designers went up to Canada above the Arctic Circle last midsummer and built snow obscuras.
Wow. Is that mentioned in your website as well?
想問咧，因為佢有一張相咧，就背咗嗰3個月啦，嗰個太陽咁樣，咁點解？係咪因為驚過到湖江水就唔浸而家？但係佢如果唔浸嘅話，佢其實一路再繼續曝光落去。
It's a technical question. Is about your photo in solargraph. It's because she's curious about the exposure time. You spend about 3 months to let it expose. But is there any possibility of overexposure during the period?
No, it's weird. It doesn't overexpose. It's almost as if you are putting a layer on top. There was a thing called dye sublimation years ago where you put more and more layers on. The way with overexposed, what happens is after a year, inside the emulsion gets wet and mold starts eating the gelatin and it all falls apart, yeah? So you get mold. But if you look at Greg's, on my website I've got a tribute to Greg Kemp. He makes use of mold and cameras, yeah? So even though it gets wet and falls apart, it is still, it's still, you can either appreciate it or not, yeah? But you can't overexpose it really. I've got an exhibition in the UK when I go back, and there's a series of it. It's been 5 years, and I was going to be doing these 5-year exposures of a hospital being built, but the security people just threw away every camera I could find. I made all these cameras, they threw them away, so I've got lots of 6-month cameras, but I'm going to exhibit them, so I'm going to have the pictures, and then the negative beside it. And the negative will fade in about a day, 2 days. So the original will go, and then the digital will stay. I don't know why. I'm interested in seeing why I do that. I'll find out afterwards.
Wait. What kind of paper do you use?
Cheap paper. I use Ilfa Speed semi-matte. It really needs to be semi-matte, not glossy.
Okay. But there's a further question. It's because the lady also want to know that why you don't need to use the developer.
You don't need to use a developer because the photographic paper gets a tan. So it's that weird factor that the paper goes dark with time. If I'd remembered, I'd have put one with my hand on by the window, and then you'll see it goes dark. Paper goes dark very slowly without developer. With developer, bang! Without developer, it's really slow. So you make the most of the slowness. It's looking at every opportunity. With pinhole photography, if something's awkward, you just think, that can be an advantage if I want this. If I want to do long time, if I want, and you have to look at what the camera can do rather than what it can't.